Hello, welcome to the Secrets webinar. Today, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We have some people joining in right now. Also, welcome everyone on Facebook. So that's great. Okay, I can see you. Alexi, Paul, Tracy, Jorn, welcome to the webinar. So, yes, it's nice to see you all connected here to the Secrets webinar, and we are going to be talking about chapter number 16. This is a very red zone chapter. Is talking about the red zone. So, okay, but before starting with the topics of the webinar, I just wanted to know if you have any wins that you want to share before starting the topics of the webinar. So if you want to share, this is a space to share your wins and realizations. Yes, Alexi, please.
Yes, I have a good friend of mine who has just she let me know this morning that she was experiencing a shock, and I suggested this weekend doing some processing with her, and she wants to do that. So that was definitely a win for me because I think it would really help. And yes, and then also this is kind of a little more off topic, but there's a cat I've been taming. And yesterday I had a huge step with him where he was willing to play with me, which was the first. And I've been taming him for months. So that was definitely a big win.
Congratulations, Alexi, and thanks for sharing and for using the tools that you have for processing others in a positive way. Tracy, please.
Hi, yeah, thanks for sharing. There's a tame cat right there. He's actually sound asleep. So awesome job on the cat training. My win this week is attending the Presence webinar yesterday. I've done it a few times before, but it was very evident that I haven't been doing presence exercises for the last few months because it was some interesting things I found out through practicing presence. So I'll just leave it at that. I'm excited, and it's really good to do some of these things as refreshers once in a while because, even if you have been keeping up with the practices, there's always that opportunity to reach that next level. So that's my win for this week. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tracy, for sharing. It's really great to connect and reconnect again and be present as much as you can practice. That's great. So thank you very much, Tracy, for sharing. Anyone else that wants to share some wins? Okay, Paul, please.
Thank you. I had a very successful processing session both ways with Angie this morning. And she was willing to get up, she was in Arizona, 7 a.m. was the meeting for her. She did a lot of yawning, but it was obviously very powerful for her and very powerful for me each way. So that's my win.
Congratulations, Paul. Thank you very much for sharing. That's amazing. Okay, so let's start now with the webinar. Officially, we start with the topic of the webinar, which is the self-evident phenomena of trapped life force particles manifest in the red zone. So, okay, before starting, talking about the different topics, is there anything that comes to you as you were reading the chapter? Something that you want to share? Something that comes to you? Yes, anything that you want to mention connected to this chapter, and which is the red zone. Okay, Paul, yes.
Thank you. I was reminded of Maharishi Mahesh Yogi saying that what you put your attention on grows stronger in your life. And to me, that's very helpful, no matter what state you're in, red zone or whatever. And I'm also reminded of, I don't know how many of you are familiar with the phenomenon or the theory of multiverses. And multiverses is sort of one basis for us is an understanding of quantum mechanics, particularly the Schrodinger equation, which basically says that all processes in nature are based really on probabilities at the quantum level. And sort of I won't get too much in the weeds here, but the standard interpretation of that has been, oh, well, people's attention collapsed the wave function, and that's why we experience the universe we do. But another interpretation of that universe is that there actually is no collapse, that all the different probabilities take place. And that, so that means that basically you every moment is a moment of creativity, and you can follow and create any thread you want. And you can take that thread into the negative red zone, or you can take it into the positive green zone. It's every nanosecond, there is just countless number of not collapses, but paths, branches that are taking place in reality. And you can be part of any of that, what branch you want. You just have to put your attention there.
Thank you very much for sharing, Paul.
Sure.
That's great. Okay, so now that we have some comments, I don't know if anyone else wants to share something about the chapter, reading the chapter, or something that comes to you. Yes, Tracy, please.
I definitely will. Since there's fewer of us on here, there's another opportunity to share. So that's awesome. One of the things I noticed was about cycles of human behavior. Right in the beginning of the chapter, basically red zone people, especially if they're victims, they can become victimizers. And sometimes that's just because that's the only way that they know. And so the cycles continue. So if you're born into this world, into a family that is very red zone and uses language in a red zone way, and that's what you learn, that's what you're going to act out. And so we end up with this sort of downward spiral of vortex from generation to generation. And, I experienced some of that myself growing up. And for whatever reason, I want to turn the spiral the other way and start using language in a different way. And so that was just what I was seeing here, was how things are passed down from generation to generation, but also in teaching in schools. Sometimes we can learn something as a truth, and then we teach others as a truth, believing it's a truth, when actually it's been formulated from an untruth way back before we even learned it. So I'm really happy for this learning about the red zone, because then that allows me to have an awareness of when it's happening in my own life.
Thank you very much, Tracy, for sharing. Yes, and what comes to view for me related to this chapter and what Tracy is saying is how like the environments, the red zone environments recreate themselves, and also the people just make them stronger, because it's like, okay, they keep moving forward the falseness, the dishonesty, of things that they even don't know that is false. So they keep teaching the same, but never really try to figure out if that is dishonest or not, or if this is the right information, if time has changed, if we have to improve the information that we are giving to the next generation. And yes, that's pretty important. So thank you very much, Tracy, for sharing. So yes, one main point. Okay, Jorn, please. Good.
Sorry for jumping in. It just came into my mind when you said, like, you're on the red zone and you're doing things, and actually you don't know that it's not going to solve your problem, because he's also talking about the education system in the States, Alan, And I think it's not in the state, it's almost everywhere, because once a week I go to a primary school and teaching their classes. And the teachers are mainly like female teachers, because it's like this in the primary school. And they put a lot of effort inside. But the way they teach, it's not red zone, I don't think, but it might be yellow zone mainly, but they're not even aware of it, because they teach exactly how they learned it, and they are exhausted, and they even don't know why. So as you said before, and as Tracy said, you're in a certain zone, and they don't know it. And it was very funny when I started their teaching. There was like the head of the school, which is very caring. She was talking to me at the beginning, and she said like, I know you don't know a lot about the subject, mainly because I didn't go to university, I didn't study to be a teacher. So she said like, if you have any problems, come back straight to us. We're never gonna blame you because you never done the apprenticeship in this area. And I was thinking, well, after half a year, I was thinking, luckily a lot of stuff I'm doing, it works out quite well. And the reason is I didn't get your education. I came back straight from India, and I learned a year with the yoga masters down there. And there's so many stuff about their minds. Most of the teachers, they never any heard about it. And so I realized after a short while, actually it works because I never got miseducated as a teacher. So for them, they told me, yeah, it's a big disadvantage for you, but we are going to be patient with you and we're going to support you. And in the end, after a short while, it turned out actually it was my biggest advantage. So this just came into my mind.
Yes, thanks for sharing. That's a great point there, which is you didn't learn the bad behaviors of the bad habits of these teachers that they teach time and time again, generation after generation, because that's the way, which is a red zone or yellow zone paradigm. So thank you very much for sharing that, Jorn. Paul, please.
Yeah, on Jorn's point, I don't remember who expressed this. It's probably been expressed by a lot of people, but the idea that the more people are educated, the stupider they become, particularly in higher levels of education, they lose their common sense and such. And I was going to express I took a graduate level course years ago. It happened to be in business law. And the professor, who was a lawyer, was advising the students that whatever they did, they should always have, and he didn't say precept, but basically the precept that of what's in it for me. And this was in particular relation, he was thinking in terms of, it was just discussions about giving recommendations out for people and all this type of thing. And I don't know if it helped anybody, but it concerned me that all these students were hearing this precept, and it seemed very damaging to me. And I said, I agree with you. However, I think we need to expand it to understand that doing the right thing is its own reward. And I was hopeful perhaps from that might reach some of the minds that were there, that the other, it just seems so self-centered and so misaligned with righteous action, that I was hoping to make some impact.
Thank you very much, Paul. Thank you for sharing. Yes, there is one thing that you mentioned about the red zone. That is that normally when you are in the red zone, you don't take into account other people. It's like it's all on your own. It's like survival mechanism. It's like you're trying to get even, to try to survive at all costs. So maybe that's connected to that. So thank you very much, Paul, for bringing that point to the discussion. So yes, another thing that it's clear about this chapter, it mentions that what traps life force particles is mainly dishonesty. But there is one specific type of this dishonesty or falseness, which is not knowing that you don't know, because it really traps you by in the situation that, okay, I think that what I know is the correct way, which is also what Tracy was mentioning. Okay, so I repeat this over and over again, over and over, even if the results don't correspond to what I want. It's even if I'm getting opposite results of what I'm trying to intend, but as it is the paradigm and the policy, or maybe it's the way that we do things here in this place. So, okay, I keep repeating it, and we get the same results, which are not positive. If they are in the red zone, we are getting contrary of what we want, like the opposite of what we want, by doing the same things over and over. So I just wanted to read the paragraph that's mentioned here, the point that I'm explaining. So the deadliest form of untruth is that which you believe to be true, but which in fact is untrue or distorted. This belief sets up a false perception and leads to continuous problems and disasters. So a false truth sets up a you don't know condition that blocks inspection of the area and keeps life force particles trapped. So that is one of the ways that you trap life force particles, but trying to enforce the same thing that doesn't work again for a problem of the past that maybe solved it before, but now is no longer a good solution for that problem. So, okay, let's go now to the different indicators. We have in total, wow, there are 44 indicators of being in the red zone. So I just wanted to ask you if, as you were reading this, what comes to view, because that's very interesting. I got a lot of things that were coming to view, and I was like, oh, it's good to notice. So I don't know if anyone of you want to share. Yes, Paul.
Can I comment on the last thing you said before we go to the indicators?
Yes. What I was mentioning is that many times, like, yeah, what happened is that normally when you get into the red zone, when you get into the red zone.
I'm sorry.
Can you?
What I asked was, could I comment on what you said? Is what I said.
Yes, of course.
Okay, thank you. Yes. I think I understood what you were saying. I didn't want to put you in the spot to
nice.
explain again.
Good.
That particular part of it, to me, is probably the most salient points of the whole chapter, because I feel like that's at the basis of not just individual problems, but huge problems on level of society. We have whole segments that are under operating under paradigms and understandings that are not true, but they're convinced that it's true, and it's driving some very negative behaviors, policies, interactions, and it's just horrific, because you can't even get to the root of the problem, because they're not willing to, in many cases, discuss, to try to arrive at a mutual understanding. They have the truth. There's nothing to be discussed, and it's just a matter of just driving that truth home. So it just becomes untenable, and it makes it very difficult.
Thank you very much, Paul. Yes, what I noticed there is that, and it mentioned it there. Like sometimes we are trying to solve the problems with the old paradigms that created those problems. So it is like circle of going nowhere or going destructive. So nice that you mentioned that, Paul. So good. So now that we discussed that, let's go to the indicators. So anything that comes to you as you were reading the indicators, maybe situations in life that you want to share with other people, or in your workplace, your company. Okay, so good. You have a green zone life. So that's great. Good, Paul, please. Yes. And then Tracy, please.
Okay, why don't you go ahead, Tracy? I just think no one's saying anything. I'll make a comment, but if you go ahead, Tracy, I didn't want to.
Okay,
dominate.
thanks. I appreciate that.
Sure.
I was just thinking to, it came to mind a relationship that I had that was, started off green zone, yellow, and into red. And it was a very important relationship to me. And I was sort of yellow zone in like trying to make it work. And that's where my level of awareness was. And the other person was very much stuck in red zone. And what ended up happening was the more I tried to make it work, the longer I just sort of prolonged the inevitable. And so what came to mind is the concept of, real change happens at rock bottom when someone wants to make a change for themselves. So sometimes it's like, well, sometimes you want to hit this rock bottom quicker and see how that feels and see how the results work out. To turn on the awareness of what can happen from there. Sometimes the comfort zone is not a great place to be. Sometimes a red zone is a really great place to be, because when it hurts bad enough, that's when people will make a change. That's just what came to mind.
Great point. Thank you, Tracy. Yeah, so sometimes that's what happens. It's like somebody that is in the red zone, they really want to change because it becomes unbearable. It's like, okay, I have to change. There's nothing else I can do. But and that is different from the yellow zone, because sometimes in the yellow zone, okay, I'm comfortable, I'm getting good results. Okay, maybe I can stay here. It's warm. Okay, I can stay there for some months more. And until it becomes red zone. And so yes, it's good to notice that it's like being in the red zone can be so painful that you really want to get out of there. Another thing I want to mention about the red zone is that it doesn't need to be a negative place to be, because sometimes you have to go through it as you start growing. So, for example, and that is a common example that we do, is that one person that is very good at his job or her job, and then as they grow and they start getting more results, okay, they get like a new position, they have to expand. And when they get into that new position, they have to get new skills and new abilities. And sometimes that growing and ascending and starting to get to know like the next step that you need to take needs new skills that will put you in the red zone, because in reality you don't know what is there, or if you know the right knowledge, you still don't know what you need to learn and which abilities you need to have. So and that is my opinion. It's like normally I use the red zone to identify if I'm in the red zone in an area. So, for example, if I have these indicators, attention deficit disorder, okay, I can concentrate in this area. I start trying to do something on that area, and then I go into another place or can study. Okay, so I'm red zone in this area. I have to find a way in order to understand what I know, what I don't know, but really start putting consciousness and attention in the area in order to start moving from the red zone to the yellow zone and then to the green zone. And the same you can do with all the indicators. You can notice them on yourself, in other person, because normally it's like most people in life, they are not completely in the red zone. They may have some parts in the red zone, other parts yellow zone, other green zone. So it's being able to identify, okay, this person in the relationship area is in the red zone. Okay, so maybe I can help them because the other areas are working. Yes, they're in others area of their life. So that gives you like a framework in order to help yourself, but also help others, because you will be able to see, okay, this person, maybe this area. Let's go with different indicators. For example, you notice the vast drops in IQ. Okay, this person is, I don't know, is very dumb in this area. Okay, how can I help them? Do they need training? Do they need processing? Do they need, yes, do they need read something that maybe they are not aware of? So, or yourself, okay, I'm very dumb in this area. Okay, what do I need in order to stop being dumb in this area? And so that's what's coming to view. And also there are other indicators that also I can notice. For example, this one, there is no time, there is no space. When you can have time in an area, so for example, somebody is trying to improve their career, but they don't find time in order to get trained in that career, they stay always in the same level. Okay, there is also something that is not letting them to really inspect and do and take the next step. And that's the same for all the indicators. Just noticing one, trying to self-inspect, okay, what is going on. As you move forward, you go for your dreams and your positive dreams and aspirations. If you start finding that these indicators show, it's just a way to really notice, okay, maybe I have to put more attention. I have to really get into knowledge, what I need to learn or apply in order to move to the next level, or the yellow zone. So okay, so we are getting to the end of this chapter. Thank you very much for your attention. But before we finish, I would really like to hear your wins connected to this webinar, or any other win that you want to share. Alexi, please.
Well, I just wanted to say I kind of had it's not necessarily a win, but just kind of like a thought that I guess it could be a win, or just sort of a question maybe. I feel like in reading like the descriptors of the red zone things, would it be maybe accurate to say that like you would see like all of these things in someone who's like in the red zone, sort of like in all areas, or in like a really deep kind of like red zone? Because I feel like reading it, I have the sense of like, well, this has to be somewhat like relative, because, you know, I might like in an area, I might be like, okay, I feel like relatively red zone in this area, but like only like a fraction of the things on the list are going to like necessarily apply in that situation, because some of them are pretty extreme, like, right, like hidden deep unfriendliness, or, you know, subject to assigning evil intention to others. Like, I don't think I've ever experienced that like in my life, you know, so it's just like, you know, but that doesn't mean that there aren't areas that are like relatively like in the red zone that I might want to work on. So like, would that be sort of accurate to say that like you could be like in the red zone in something without embodying like all of, or even a lot of these traits, but it's like sufficient to identify like some of these traits in an area, like for you? Would that be accurate?
Yes, that will be accurate. If you are not seeing the indicators, that means, okay, there is one thing that I have to pay more attention and really handle it. So yes, it's if you fulfill all the indicators, okay, you are in the red zone. Now you know it for certain. But if you have 1, 2, 3, and it's a specific area, you can also start noticing that, because it's like we are dynamic, and the person that knows more about what is happening there is yourself. So that's why it's yourself that can find the answer in order to get out of the red zone and put more honesty in whatever is causing you problems. So thank you, Alexi. Yes, and congratulations for your win. Good, Jorn, and then Tracy, please.
Yeah, but thank you. Which came out of the station when you said like it's not bad to being in the red zone. So it just reminded me, actually, it doesn't matter. It mattered in which zone I am, but for me, I came out like the most important thing is that I realize in which zone I am, because being in the red zone can be, as Tracy said, or you as well, it could be a nice kick in the ass, because then you have to change, or I have to change something. And if I'm yellow, it's still working so and so. So it mainly comes down, I was thinking, okay, so you have advantage and disadvantage in every zone. As long I'm aware where in which zone I am, I'm able to change. And if I decide not to change in the yellow, in the red zone, or not now, I'm going to do it like in 3 months, I do something, it's also fine. It's just like the awareness. I think it's the most important thing about this. So this came in my mind when you explained it, that it's also can be good to be in the red zone.
Thank you. Thank you, Jörn. Yes, the awareness.
Yeah.
The awareness of the sounds. Thank you very much. Tracy, please.
Yeah, thank you. And what was coming to mind for me is that it's not an absolute green, yellow, red, but it's a range, right? The red encompasses a range, and yellow encompasses range. And then there's red, yellow, green in different levels as you progress up. So it's not so much, about judging yourself harshly as to where you are, so much as comparing, okay, what am I getting compared to where I want to be? That's what come to mind for me.
Thank you very much, Tracy. Yeah, that's why you do the personal zones profiles. They are personal. That has meaning for you. It's your meaning, is where are you in the zones, and what that means to you, and according to what you want to get in your life. So yes, it's a gradient of improvement. And if you are aware where you are, it's easier to go up. Thank you very much, Tracy, for sharing. And any other win before we end the webinar? Okay, so thank you very much for attending the webinar. I'm really happy for all your participation. You make it easier for me. So great to see you, all familiar faces here. And yes, just invite you. Okay, we have, I know that you all have done, for you, all the participants here in the webinar, you all have done already the Clean Slate course. But anyway, if you want to attend, again, we are having on April the 30th. And let me just give you the link to see all the events. I will just put that in the chat so you can have like available all the different events that we are doing the next few months. So that's it. If you want to attend any of the events in the future, we are just starting a Clean Slate course on the April 30, and May 1 and 2. And also, we are having the Life Enhancement course for the next month. So if you just want to check the information about the events, it is available in that link. And also for the Zones of Life event in the future, if you want to connect, reconnect, and keep practicing presence. So that's it. That's my last invitation. Have a great afternoon. And thank you very much for attending, and see you next week.
Thank you.
See you.
Thanks, Camilo. See you all later.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.